They were drilling out the lock on my dock gate. 2 uniformed cops stood there watching, one of them actually holding the HOA president's bolt cutters. And when I shouted, "That's my property," one of the officers turned, smirked, and said, "Not anymore, premium members only." Let me back up for a second. I'm Miles Keaton, 42. I fix boat motors for a living. Got my own little shop right in the garage. The kind of place where customers show up with a six-pack and a busted propeller and we figure things out over coffee and grease-stained rags. 6 years ago, my wife Laura and I bought this place on East Point Lake. We weren't looking for some country club life, just a house where Emma, our daughter, could grow up running barefoot, chasing frogs, learning the feel of the water under her feet. When we first moved in, this HOA was sleepy. Barely anyone showed up at meetings. The board was 3 older folks who mostly cared about making sure the grass got cut and the lights by the mailbox worked. I liked it that way. The dock? Yeah, the dock was my project. There was this scrappy little patch of shoreline behind our house when we moved in, rocky, overgrown, useless. I stood out there one morning, coffee in hand, watching the fog roll off the lake and said to Laura, "I'm building us a dock." She laughed, thought I meant some janky pallet ramp. But I wasn't kidding. I went to the county, pulled the zoning maps, asked all the right questions. Our property line extended 6 feet into the water, perfectly legal for a private dock as long as it didn't interfere with navigation or public access. So that summer, while Laura was teaching summer classes and Emma was at camp, I turned that rocky mess into something special. It wasn't fancy, treated lumber, galvanized bolts, simple railing, but solid. Hand-built. Mine. Ours? The first time Emma walked out on it, 7 years old, little fishing rod in hand, she turned to me and said, "Daddy, this is my favorite place in the world." That stuck with me, still does. For us, that dock was more than a structure. It was where Emma learned patience, waiting for the bobber to twitch. Where Laura and I sat late into the night talking about life, watching stars spin above the dark water. Where every July 4th we lit sparklers and listened to the neighbors' fireworks echo across the lake. No fees, no reservations, no permissions required. It was our space, on our land, on our water. And for 5 good years, nobody said a damn word about it. Until Travis Weller took over the HOA. First time I laid eyes on Travis Weller, I knew he was trouble. It was at one of those HOA town hall meetings, you know, the kind where 5 people show up for the free cookies. Except this time, the room was packed. Whole new crowd, young professionals, real estate types. Travis stood at the front, sleeves rolled, hair slicked back, flashing that Chamber of Commerce smile. "It's time to bring East Point Lake into the 21st century," he said. "This community is sitting on untapped potential. We need to modernize, create opportunities, monetize underutilized assets." Now, to you and me, that's a load of corporate speak for someone's about to get screwed. I leaned over to Laura and whispered, "Bet you $5 they're coming for the lake next." She squeezed my hand. Let's see. Next week, the first letter arrived. Plain envelope, HOA logo. "Dear Mr. Keaton, per the recent East Point Lake HOA board decision regarding shoreline zoning adjustments, your dock has been identified as a non-compliant structure. In accordance with Article 6, Section 3 of revised HOA guidelines, personal docks on shared water frontage are no longer permitted without premium lake access membership." Premium membership. Huh? That was new. I kept reading. $5,000 annual fee. Limited to approved structures, subject to board discretion. Failure to comply will result in fines and potential removal of said structure. I read it twice, then a third time. Laura found me standing in the kitchen holding the letter, face hot. "They can't do this," I said. "We pulled permits. We own the shoreline to the high water mark. It's recorded in the plat." She nodded. "I'll pull the deed files tomorrow." That's my wife. Cool head in a storm. Next morning, I emailed the HOA board, quoted county code, referenced my permits, attached the property map. Simple, polite. Our dock is a permitted private structure on privately owned shoreline. HOA has no authority to regulate or charge for its use. You know what Travis replied? "We disagree with your interpretation of current zoning. Non-compliance fines will begin next week." And like clockwork, that Friday, a neon orange envelope showed up taped to my mailbox. $2,000 fine for unauthorized private use of community resource. That's when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a shakedown. I stood at the dock that evening watching Emma skip stones off the far end. Laura joined me. "They're trying to scare us," she said. I nodded. "Not gonna work." But I hadn't seen anything yet. That $2,000 fine? I ignored it. Paid it about as fast as I'd pay a ransom note. Next week, another envelope. $2,500 fine, this time for continued unauthorized use of premium shoreline. I emailed again, attached more documents, county maps, photos, the damn permit. Silence. Then the real game started. One Saturday morning, Emma and I walked down to the dock, rods in hand. There was a boat parked there, not ours. A sleek white bayliner with a premium access HOA decal slapped on the windshield. Two guys in polo shirts and loafers were setting up folding chairs. "Excuse me," I said, "you're on private property." One of them looked up, smug as hell. "We rented this slip from the HOA. Go talk to them." My blood boiled. Emma tugged my arm. "Daddy, why are they on our dock?" I walked her back up to the house because the last thing I needed was to unload on some yacht club wannabes in front of my kid. That night, Laura and I drafted a cease and desist letter, certified mail, delivered to Travis and every board member. Didn't stop them. Next weekend, 2 more boats. Loud music. Trash left on the dock. Someone dumped a bag of fast food wrappers right where Emma liked to sit and fish. But the kicker? A new sign, bolted right to my dock railing. Premium members only. Trespassers subject to fine. I damn near lost it. Called the sheriff's office, explained everything. The deputy they sent, a young guy, nervous, stood there squinting at the sign, scratching his head. "Well, sir," he finally said, "the HOA says this is now community property. I'm not sure where the lines are here." "The lines," I said, "are recorded with the county." "Want to see the deed?" He shrugged. "I'm just telling you what they told us. Maybe you should take it up with the board." Right, the same board that was slapping fake fines on my door and renting out my dock behind my back. That night, Laura hit the county clerk's site like a woman on a mission. I swear she could pass for a lawyer when she's mad. Meanwhile, I installed a new steel lock on the dock gate and set up a motion-activated camera facing the walkway. That lasted exactly 1 day. Next morning, the lock was cut clean through. Camera ripped off the post. Gone. In its place, another note. Non-compliance with premium access guidelines will result in further action. Signed, Travis Weller, HOA President. Emma found the shredded lock chain on the ground, brought it up to the porch, eyes wide. "Daddy, they broke our lock?" That's when I sat down with her and Laura and said, "This is going to get uglier, but we are not backing down." And man, I had no idea how ugly it was about to get. First thing Monday morning, Laura marched into the county recorder's office. Spent 2 hours digging through dusty plat maps, easement records, every scrap of paperwork tied to our property. When she got home, she slammed a stack of copies on the kitchen table. "They don't own that shoreline," she said, eyes blazing. "Not 1 inch. The HOA perimeter stops 30 feet back from the water line. Our property deed includes private access rights to the dock area, explicitly. I've got it all here." Bless her. I don't know how I married a history teacher who can shred bureaucrats for fun, but I'm damn glad I did. Armed with the paperwork, we scheduled a formal meeting with the HOA board. You should have seen Travis when we walked into that conference room. Perfect hair, $600 blazer, grinning like he'd already won. I dropped the deed copies on the table. Laura laid out a timeline of dock construction, county approvals, the whole shebang. "Your premium access scheme is illegal," she said, calm but sharp. "You are extorting homeowners and profiting from private property. We demand immediate removal of all signage and cessation of fines." Travis leaned back, smirked. "Your interpretation of property boundaries is outdated," he said. "Our council advises that the HOA has established beneficial use of this shoreline. Community benefit overrides individual claims." I nearly choked. Beneficial use? You mean renting out my dock to your buddies for $5,000 a season? One of the other board members, a woman named Clarice, shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Laura pressed on. "We are prepared to pursue legal action if necessary." Travis just smiled wider. "You do what you feel is best. But know this, fighting the HOA can be expensive." It was a threat, plain and simple, so we took it up a level. Laura contacted a property attorney, one of her old college friends. Smart guy. Knew the ins and outs of HOA law. We sent a formal cease and desist letter through his office, filed an official complaint with the county zoning board, requested a review hearing through the city council's property oversight committee. We did everything by the book, and every step of the way, doors slammed, emails unanswered, hearing requests lost in the system. Meanwhile, the fines kept coming. $3,000, $4,000. The HOA newsletter even printed a notice calling me a non-compliant property owner hindering community lake access. Neighbors started looking at us sideways. Emma came home from school in tears one day. "Why are they saying we're bad people, Daddy?" That nearly broke me. I tried one more time. walked right into the sheriff's office with a folder full of evidence. Explained everything: property lines, fake fines, criminal tampering with my lock and camera. The deputy behind the desk listened politely, took notes, and then said, "Mr. Keaton, far as I can see, this is a civil dispute between you and the HOA, not something we can intervene in at this stage." I stared at him. "They're vandalizing my property." He shrugged. "Unless we catch someone in the act, it's your word against theirs." And that was it. Laura found me sitting on the dock that night, head in my hands. "We did everything right," I said. "We followed the law, filed the papers. What more do they want?" She sat down beside me, took my hand. "They want us to give up," she said softly. "And that's the one thing we are not going to do." And that's when we both heard it. An engine idling in the distance. Saw headlights flicker through the trees. Someone was out there, watching. And something told me the fight was about to get very, very real. I didn't sleep much after that night. Every time the wind creaked the dockboards or a car rolled past at 2 a.m., I was wide awake. We were fighting this thing clean, on paper, through channels, but it was starting to feel like Travis and his crowd didn't play by those rules. Then, 3 days later, Laura found it. She was buried in the county's online records, again, cross-referencing old meeting minutes and HOA filings. And somewhere in that mess, she clicked open a scanned PDF from 3 years back, a permit application Travis had filed when he first joined the board. I heard her gasp from across the room. "Miles, you need to see this." I leaned over her shoulder. It was a letter from Travis to the county land office requesting a clarification of public use boundaries for East Point Lake shoreline. And attached? A forged property map. The original plat line for our lot clearly extended 6 feet past the bank, into the water. Private dock permitted. No HOA jurisdiction. But this version? Someone had redrawn the lines, trimming our property right at the shoreline and marking everything beyond it as community lakefront easement. Laura clicked through these metadata. The submission date matched the month Travis became HOA president. "He faked the map," she whispered. "This whole premium access thing is built on a lie." It got worse. Buried in the attachments was a list, handwritten notes scanned with the filing. Names, amounts, payment dates, premium access members, over 2 dozen who had already paid Travis personally for dock rentals on HOA property. Except it wasn't HOA property, it was mine. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't just about controlling the shoreline anymore. This was criminal fraud. Travis had collected tens of thousands of dollars on a lie, and the moment we exposed it, his whole little empire would crumble. Laura looked up at me. "We need to go public." "Not yet," I said. "Let's get proof they can't wiggle out of." So I called my cousin Blake, a former cop turned private investigator. "Blake," I said, "I need you to pull everything you can on Travis Weller and this premium access scheme. Emails, bank records, anything." He didn't ask questions, just said, "I'm on it." 2 days later, Blake called back. "Miles, you're not going to believe this. Travis has been running this racket for months, and he's got a slush fund set up through a shell company, Weller Marine Services, LLC. He's laundering the payments through it." My hands were shaking. "You got proof?" "Yeah, and something else. I got a guy, one of the HOA members, who's ready to talk. He didn't know about the forgery. He thought he was paying for legit access, and now he's pissed." That was our smoking gun. We had Travis dead to rights, but we weren't the only ones planning a move. Because the very next night, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. to the sound of Emma screaming. Ran to her room. She was pointing out the window, crying. "Daddy, the dock! It's on fire!" I bolted outside barefoot, flames already licking up the railings, the wooden planks popping and cracking, and in the faint orange glow, I saw them, 2 figures sprinting off into the trees. One carried a gas can. By the time the fire truck arrived, half the dock was gone. Emma sobbed in Laura's arms. I stood there, fists clenched, watching the structure I'd built with my own 2 hands burn to blackened rubble. This wasn't about fines anymore. This wasn't about zoning. This was war. I stood there on the shoreline until dawn. Charred boards floated in the water. Ash smeared the rocks. The smell of burned wood hung in the air like a punch to the gut. Emma finally drifted off in Laura's lap on the porch. I kissed her forehead, then sat down with Laura. Neither of us said a word for a long time. Then I looked her in the eye and said it straight. "We've played nice long enough." Laura nodded. "We burned them down, the right way." So here's what we did. First thing, I called Blake. "Blake, we're ready. Bring everything you've got." By noon, he was at our kitchen table with a thumb drive and a grin. "You were right," he said. "This thing stinks to high heaven." He laid it out. Bank transfers from Premium Access members into Weller Marine Services, LLC. Weller Marine funneling money back to Travis's personal account. HOA emails showing Travis pushing board members to maximize premium revenue and expand dock capacity on community shoreline. And best of all, a video recording from Blake's source, one of the premium renters, where Travis admits on tape, "It's a gray area. The original property lines are fuzzy, but no one's gonna fight it." Game over. I spent the next 3 hours assembling one hell of a packet. The forged map Travis submitted. The deed showing our property rights. Blake's financial records. The video confession. Photos of the dock before and after the fire. Then I made 4 copies. One for the sheriff's office. One for the county prosecutor. One for the state attorney general's HOA fraud task force. And one for the media. I also filed an arson report, official this time, with the sheriff. I knew the chances of them catching the guys in the dark were slim, but now the fire was documented. Next, we went to our lawyer. "We want a lawsuit drafted by Monday," Laura said. "Personal damages, property destruction, fraud, civil conspiracy, the works." Our lawyer, sharp as a tack, grinned. "With pleasure." And while the legal wheels started turning, I prepared my own counterattack. See, Travis had underestimated 2 things. The paper trail he left. The people in this neighborhood who didn't like being conned. I started making quiet calls. Neighbors I trusted. Folks who'd been suspicious of the whole premium access thing but hadn't dared speak up. Word spread fast. By the end of the weekend, 6 premium members had called me personally, furious. They'd paid thousands thinking it was legal. Now they knew they'd been sold snake oil. One of them, a retired Marine named Rick, said it flat out. "You tell me when and where, Miles. I want this bastard exposed." And so we planned it. Public exposure, maximum daylight, no more quiet emails, no more polite meetings. I called the local news station, spoke to a reporter who'd covered shady HOA cases before, told her I had documents, photos, names, a fire, a fraud, a full story. She jumped on it, scheduled an interview for Tuesday morning. Then I posted one message to the HOA's official neighborhood forum. "I will be holding a public meeting this Tuesday, 6 p.m. at my property. Anyone interested in the truth behind premium access and the recent attack on my family's dock is welcome to attend. Bring your questions. Bring your cameras." Didn't sign it with threats, didn't name Travis, just the truth. Laura looked at me after I hit post. "Are you ready for what comes next?" I smiled, tired but steady. I was ready the night they burned my dock. By Tuesday afternoon, the yard was full. I'm not kidding. Word spread like wildfire. By 5:30, folks were showing up with folding chairs, coolers, some even bringing their kids. About 50 people packed onto the lawn overlooking what was left of my dock. And then came the cameras. Channel 7 rolled up with a van. Reporter I'd talked to, Maria Ruiz, stepped out, notepad in hand, already mic'd up. "Ready to go, Mr. Keaton?" she asked. "Been ready," I said. At 6 p.m. sharp, I stood on my back deck and addressed everyone. No microphone, no fancy podium, just me. "Thank you all for coming. You've heard rumors. You've seen the flames. Tonight, I'm going to show you what's really been going on." Laura ran the laptop, hooked to a projector one of the neighbors brought. I walked them through it step by step. The real property map, our property line, county stamped. The forged map Travis submitted. The premium access payment records, bank transfers, shell company. The HOA emails calling it a revenue stream. The video of Travis saying, "No one's gonna fight it." And then the pictures of the dock, pre and post fire. The crowd went dead silent. Even Maria, who'd seen some stuff in her day, looked shaken. Then I finished with this. I don't know who lit the match, but I know who poured the gas. And now we fight back. Not with threats, not with fires, with truth, with law, and with every one of you who refuses to let our neighborhood be stolen. Applause broke out. Neighbors who hadn't spoken to us in weeks came up after, shaking my hand, hugging Laura. One woman sobbed, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I just trusted them." I told her we all wanted to trust them. That's how they got away with it. Maria aired the segment that night on the 10 p.m. news. "Local man's dock torched an escalating HOA fraud scandal," the headline ran. And that's when the dominoes started falling. Next morning, the sheriff's office called. Deputy Willis, older guy, straight shooter. He'd seen the news. "Mr. Keaton, I'd like to formally reopen your vandalism case. Bring everything you've got. The DA's office is now involved." Blake delivered a full copy of the evidence to them the same day. Meanwhile, the premium members who'd been duped filed complaints with the state's Consumer Fraud Division. By Thursday, the county prosecutor had launched an official investigation into Weller Marine Services, LLC. And on Friday, I got the best call yet. Laura answered first. Her eyes went wide. "It's Clarice from the HOA board." She handed me the phone. Clarice sounded wrecked. "Miles, I had no idea. Travis told us it was legal. I just saw the news. I resigned this morning. I'm willing to testify." "Good," I said. "You're going to help us clean this mess up." And while all this was happening, Travis? Dead silent. Didn't return calls. Skipped the emergency HOA meeting. Neighbors said they saw him loading boxes into his car late at night. Coward, but it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because next week we had a court hearing scheduled, and Travis was about to be dragged into the light, kicking and screaming. Court day felt like walking into a gunfight with a six-shooter and a smile. Laura and I sat in the second row, our lawyer up front, flipping through the binder we'd prepped for weeks. Blake was there too, cool as ever, sipping bad courthouse coffee like it was champagne. And Travis? He finally showed. Dark suit, no tie, pale as a ghost, flanked by some big-shot attorney from the city, the kind that charges $500 an hour to say my client denies all allegations. Too late for that now. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors filled every seat. Half of Premium Access membership showed up in person, angry, betrayed. And behind them, Channel 7's camera crew already rolling. When Judge Atkins took the bench, you could feel the tension snap tight. Our lawyer stood first, calm, precise, voice steady. "Your Honor, we are here today because my client's property rights were violated. Their dock was illegally claimed, fraudulently monetized, and ultimately destroyed through criminal acts connected to this fraudulent scheme. We will demonstrate that the defendant not only acted in bad faith, but committed multiple violations of state and federal law in pursuit of personal profit." Then he clicked the remote. One by one, we walked the judge and the whole damn room through everything. The deed, the forged map, the Premium Access ledger, the video of Travis. Every word from our side landed like a hammer blow. Then the sheriff's investigator stood and confirmed, yes, the map was falsified. Yes, Weller Marine was a shell company. Yes, an active arson investigation was underway and Travis was now a person of interest. You could hear the oxygen leave the room. Then came the kicker. Clarice. She took the stand, voice trembling at first, but gaining strength with every word. "I trusted Travis. I didn't know he had forged the map. I didn't know he was pocketing the money. When I saw the news, I knew I had to come forward." She turned and looked Travis dead in the eye. "You lied to all of us. You burned down that man's dock and this whole community's trust." Even the judge leaned back, steepled his fingers, and stared hard at Travis. His lawyer tried a last-ditch move, stood up, muttering about good faith misunderstandings and unclear property lines. The judge shut that down cold. "I've reviewed the filings. I've seen the evidence. There was no misunderstanding here. This was a calculated act of fraud." Then, looking straight at Travis, "You, sir, are hereby ordered to cease all activities under the Premium Access Program, return all funds collected, and face forthcoming criminal charges as determined by the DA's office. Furthermore, you are prohibited from serving in any HOA leadership role effective immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate arrest." Boom. The courtroom erupted, neighbors gasping, some even cheering. Travis slumped in his chair, face white, lips pressed thin, his lawyer packed up in silence. As they left, Maria from Channel 7 caught Travis on camera. "Mr. Weller, any comment on the charges? On the arson investigation?" He shoved past the mic without a word. Whole thing aired that night, prime time. Local HOA president exposed in Premium Access fraud scandal, facing criminal charges. That wasn't just victory. That was sunlight. That was justice. Afterward, neighbors swarmed us outside the courthouse. Hugs, handshakes, apologies. Even Rick, the retired Marine, clapped me on the back and said, "You just saved this whole damn neighborhood, Miles." But for me, the best moment was when Emma tugged my sleeve, looked up at me with those big eyes, and whispered, "Does this mean we can build a new dock, Daddy?" I knelt down and smiled. "Yeah, sweetheart, and this time, no one's gonna take it from us." A month later, I stood on the shoreline again. Sunset this time, sky streaked gold and purple, water like glass. And in front of me, a brand new dock, wider, stronger, steel posts this time. Emma had even painted a little sign, "Keaton Dock, family use only." Built it with my own hands again. This time with a few extra helpers, Rick, a couple neighbors who used to keep their distance. They showed up with tool belts and coolers and said, "We owe you one." I didn't argue. Funny thing is, after all that mess, the neighborhood changed. The board got cleaned out. Clarice became interim president. First thing she did was kill the entire premium access program and call a full audit. Travis? Last I heard, the DA filed charges for wire fraud, conspiracy, and yes, arson. Turns out those 2 guys on my cameras weren't very smart. One flipped fast, named Travis as the man who ordered the job. His mugshot made the news 2 weeks later. But me? I wasn't chasing headlines. I just wanted my damn dock back. Now Emma's back to fishing off the edge, grinning every time she reels in a bluegill. Laura and I sit out there most nights, sipping iced tea, toes in the water, and every time a pontoon boat drifts by, I see the new respect in people's eyes. A little wave, a nod. They know we fought, we won. And when the next HOA hotshot comes sniffing around thinking they can take what's not theirs, they'll see that dock. They'll see the sign. And they'll remember what happened to the last guy who tried.